go.
And we're live, baby.
Welcome
back. No, I see.
Oh man, we're keeping that, by the way, so everybody can see what a coward Chris is. Episode 8 in the building. We actually just did this 3 seconds ago, but we fucked it up, so we're doing it again because that's what happens when you get to edit videos. So again, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't just say this 14 seconds ago. Check out my Ascend You t-shirt. I'm repping right here. Justin's about to say it's gonna drop in a week.
You look on the App Store in a week, you'll find Ascend Video.
Ascend Video.
That's how you should search for it.
It's a dope app. And
download it.
Also, I'm about to say shout out to what?
Jimmy's. Oh, my mustache.
To Chris's mustache. Shout out to Chris's mustache, and he only knows that because we just did this
14 seconds ago.
14 seconds ago. Obviously, we want to give a big shout out to our sponsor of this podcast, Rich Print Shop.
Thank you,
That's
Rich Print
right.
Shop.
Rich Print
in the
Shop.
building.
Made the dope shirt.
Oh yeah, man. Always.
Show him the mug.
We got the mugs in the building. We got all that. He just did some gear for Starting Point Showable Living.
Showable Living?
Starting Point Showable Living. Eric Labage. Shout out. So this episode, you're just getting the three of us. It's gonna be super exciting. We got Chips Ahoy as a guest today over there in the chair. That's it. So with this episode, what I wanted to talk about, a good topic episode, because we can do topics, and the good thing about us not having a guest is more time for what, Justin?
For us to talk.
More time for us to talk and Chris to listen.
Yep.
Listen,
Exactly.
Chris. You know that's what you're here for.
That's it.
That's
yeah.
it. You come.
I'm going to take awkward Andy's spot and you can just cut the mic now. I don't need it. So
Yeah.
No, we're going to make you talk, and then we'll just correct whatever you have to say.
Yeah, Justin was just saying before we started, he was trying to give Chris some confidence. He's like, no, just talk. I want you to talk more, and then after I'll clean it up.
make it sound intelligent.
I'll clean it up. Topic today, fear. So I'm going to read you guys a few things, man. So fear is obviously in recovery in life and universal always, but especially in our focused field of addiction. You know, like fear is the number one thing. That's the disease of addiction is essentially fear, right? Control through thought form. The disease of addiction, and I, to this day, with 15 years clean, can still combat and have these struggles with fear internally, right? No matter how much you work, you're always in that constant internal battle, or constantly having to, because it's work, right? To prep your spirit and to prep your mind to be in a place of living in faith, to live within faith and to trust in God and the universe and to live in abundance and stuff like that. And circumstances beyond our control, which is like life,
Everything.
right? Everything. It happens in spite of how strong we may think we are, and then we're always tested. I mean, we talk about Ma all the time. It's like my mother, we have this thing. It's like, be careful when we'll be given this advice, right? You'll be giving someone advice, telling them to, like, oh, you just gotta have faith. You gotta have faith, and like strong. And then our joke is that anytime we ever give like really strong advice, like a week later we get tested with that same advice. And then it's like, now you have to learn how to apply that same principle and get into that mindset. And so I'm going to read some quotes, some inspiring quotes, and then we're going to discuss the fear topic, and then essentially some stuff that I've been struggling with recently. And I know, Justin, you talked about it the last time we were on. You were living in a place of fear, but just some quotes to get our minds going. Fear is an idea-crippling, experience-crushing, success-stalling inhibitor inflicted only by yourself. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. And obviously, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And without fear, then there cannot be courage. This is my favorite one. He who has overcome his fears will truly be free. So why don't you set us off with this, Justin? And I'll lead you in and just let you know where my struggles have been as of late, and how I'm starting to climb out of it. And I know you struggle in the same area. Like, we're very strong in all these areas, and then anytime finances are involved, we're very weak when it comes to faith. And that's essentially,
not just us, everybody.
Yeah,
I would say.
But I look at you as a very, very like strong faith person as a whole, and the only time I ever see holes in your armor is the same holes that I have in my armor, is when it's financial related. And like, that's where I've been triggered recently. Obviously, we have everything going on with the coronavirus. Like, we had to make all these changes, and the industry is changing, and it's just been a strange time, you know. And in spite of that, like, we still have bills to pay, we still have businesses, we still have all this stuff. And obviously there's some changes that we're making to the business right now moving forward, and there's a lot of stuff. And it's like, my first instinct with all that's happening is to go into a place of fear. Like, what is going to happen? What is this going to look like? How are we going to be effective? Will we make it through? And like, getting to that place, and where you start to feel the walls closing in on you, and you start to like get that state of anxiety, you know. And for me, like, the way I always get myself out of it, essentially, is I allow myself to feel the feelings, right? You got to feel it to heal it. And then I begin the dialogue of like, what are my fears, right? And once I begin the dialogue, it starts to give space internally for me to allow faith in. But that faith has to be, I have to receive that. Excuse me. I usually receive that from conversations like this. You know, I need to essentially get back the information that I already have
Yep.
from somebody else.
So interesting how that works.
No. And then, but I have to acknowledge that it's there, right? Because my first instinct is I want to isolate. For me, I'm huge. Like, in isolation, I want to go in my room. I want to take naps, and I want to watch a bunch of Netflix. And I just want to try to not acknowledge actually what's happening. Because if I acknowledge it, then it's real and all that, which is the opposite of what you should do. And recently I've been having dialogue around it, you know. I mean, I talk to you, and what I always come to is that I can only control what I can control, right? And instead of being a victim to my circumstances, I can be proactive in what I can control, and do the best that I can to do the best that I can. And when I start just to take enough action, because I'm a firm believer in the way that I can change my thinking, especially when it's fear-based, is through positive action. Enough positive action repetitively, for me personally, starts to change the dialogue from which I talk to myself.
I read in a book, the antidote to fear is action. Whatever you fear, do the opposite, or take some action, and you'll relieve the fear. And it makes sense. It's like, if you're fearing a specific circumstance or something happening, just take an action. I don't think that's the only thing you can do, but I do think it's one part. I mean, at the end of the day, if you even classify what action, it's like, if you decide to meditate, that's an action you're taking. If you decide to call somebody and talk about it, that's an action you're taking. If you can think of a positive thing to, you know, equate to it, it's a positive action. But like, Netflix is not, I would say take a positive mindful action, actually, would be, because not all action's healthy. So when you talk about Netflix, I default to that too. I'm the same, you know, I think we're the same person, to be honest, how we deal with things, being Aquariuses and the like. But it's a, checking out is a mindless activity that doesn't help. It's not solution oriented at all. You know, where like, you have the power within your spirit and within your mind to get you out of fear, but you have to take healthy, positive action in order to get there. And so for me, I've been experiencing fear myself recently. I rely so heavily on meditation these days that I know factually that if I have anxiety, or for me, I can't stand the feeling anymore. The feeling of anxiety and stress, I don't have much tolerance for it. I do not want to walk around in that state. I used to be fine with it, and these days and so it's interesting because recovery teaches you to just share how you're feeling all the time. And I do see the value in that. And I'm not taking the value away from that. And I think especially in early recovery, our negative thinking is so powerful that the greatest tool we can utilize is, talking to somebody else because they can help us with our thinking. But I think the more that you nurture your relationship with yourself, you can actually get beyond your mind and to your spirit and tap into your own spirit through some spiritual practices. That's for me today. And I think that you could do that even early in recovery if you tuned into some spiritual practices. I just think that most people early in recovery aren't meditating. Most people early in recovery haven't developed a close enough relationship with God or source or universe or whatever works for you to tap into. Because if you really think about it, when you're in fear, normally you actually are okay.
Yeah.
If you just breathe in the moment, like if we just brought back this moment right here, like I have some fear, I'm experiencing some fears, trying to figure things out. I experience fear because I want to figure everything out.
Yep.
I want to know exactly how things are going to go. And the second they don't go how I want them to go, it introduces fear.
Yep.
But trying to figure things out is the opposite of faith. Faith is, I don't need to figure everything out. I believe that everything's going to turn out the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
But I'm programmed to, let's figure this out. Let's figure it, because it's a control-based thinking that makes me feel safe and comfortable. As long as I can control how things are going to happen, it keeps me safe.
Well, it's getting to that state. You're already all right, and like I'm already all right. But to get yourself to, I call it like getting myself back into the now. Because when I'm in the now, in the present moment, which it sounds like, oh, just get yourself in the now, but that's not fucking easy.
No, it's not.
But I had that moment. Well, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, and we were all out riding scooters. By the way, we started a scooter gang. Gang. People like, oh, scooters, and then they go, hey, where'd you buy that?
Yeah, yep.
It's whatever, you know what I mean? But so I'm at my house, and I just got home, and my endorphins were from laughing because I tapped into like my inner child. You know what I mean? I'm a 37-year-old dude on scooters with like 10 of my
pissing my pants
my
laughing.
friends, and we're dying laughing, and we're meeping the horns in the streets, and it was incredible. But when I get home, I had that "you're already all right" moment. Right? I'm looking around. I live on a cul-de-sac. And I remember days when the idea of owning a home, which just wasn't too long ago, was so far-fetched to me. And that, like, the fact that I have a home, I have a roof over my head, I'm already all right.
Well, you have love. At the end of the day, we place so much emphasis on having money, having this, having that. But then you go experience a great time with a bunch of people, and money has nothing to do with it. And that's the true essence of like what life is. It's like really the value is in just being in a state of being and being with other people and being able to just freely be yourself.
Yeah.
But we've been programmed that no, that's not what makes you happy. What makes you happy is a nice car. Money, you know what I mean? Like these are the things that you have to have, and if you don't have these things, then you better be scared because you're not going to be all right. Like we're programmed in society to learn these things, and so for me today, even with 22 years in the recovery process, I am actively trying to unlearn belief systems that have been taught to me most of my life, so that I can be freer to just be in the moment. And not to say I don't have goals and aspirations. I do have goals and aspirations, but they should be in the flow of energy of me being myself. And a lot of the times in my recovery journey, I've been trying to accomplish goals to be somebody else.
Yeah.
To be somebody because I wasn't okay. You know what I mean? Because like they're just another mask I can put on to make myself feel better about myself. When the truth is, you mentioned the inner child. That's the work we need to be doing. We need to be going back and actually loving the inner child and nurturing the inner child and teaching our true selves that it's okay to just freely be yourself and unleash from all these belief systems we've learned that are program us that this is what's going to make you happy, when I'm not saying it's a lie. It's like there's security in money, but money in and of itself does not make you happy.
No.
No, absolutely not. What do you, Chris? How do you deal? I mean, you're
So one thing I can identify with both you guys with the fear. Like once if fear sets in, all I want to do is like isolate, right? Put on a Netflix show and just like get away from everyone. And it doesn't solve anything because no matter I paid the toll now or later, I paid the toll, right? So it's about finding that connection with someone or people like that I feel comfortable with. Like if I have questions about something or like example, right? Fear of I never thought, you know, I would ever, you know, be able to get a car loan or a house loan. And I would sit and manifest, and I would be like, I'm going to be a loser. I'm going to be riding, you know, this 2001 Camry forever. I'm going to have a used car. And it's until I asked for help, which was huge for me. Because asking for help, it's not the first time. Like when I first wanted to get clean and get into a program, that asking for help was difficult. But once I did, changes started to happen. But anytime a fear
Can I interrupt you for 2 seconds?
Of course you can.
Because just think about what you're saying right there, though. You're saying me getting a new car because I'm driving a 2001 Camry. You driving a 2001 Camry doesn't change who you are at all. You're Chris, who's like this great person who we love. I don't give a fuck whether you drive a 2001 Camry or you drive an Infinity, even though it's programmed into you that I need to get out of this Camry and I need to get another car. It's so interesting how we literally have been programmed that these certain things make us who we are.
I just figured the leather, you know, heated seats in the winter was better on my butt. On about the Infinity.
Or, you know, but the Infinity.
It wasn't just, I need the Infinity. It was like, all right, lower miles, better on gas. I'm traveling. It wasn't just like the name brand, but I get what you're saying.
Also, he's like, what do chicks think is most sweet?
Well, I was about to mention that, you know, because again,
But even
that is a societal thing that we're taught that, like, at the end of the day, you know, who you are is what matters in a relationship.
Yeah, but it's also hard when with that concept because there's people, a lot of, especially like a young single dude. You know what I mean? Like, if he had the option to get a Benz, he would have got a Benz because it's a nice car, but more importantly, it's because of.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but at the same note, there's the guy who's just completely comfortable with himself, who gets all the girls. Because they're attracted to him just fucking being himself. Like, there's that guy too, but that guy is less. I don't look at that guy and even equate that. I just think I need to get a car. I need to grow a beard. I need to look older. I need this. I need that. I need anything outside of myself to be okay, to fulfill expectations of what this world has.
It takes fucking work.
I agree with you. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it's like.
I agree with you.
Now you're making me rethink my purchase. I didn't get the car because I wasn't okay, but that was just a goal of mine.
Chris, you were dying inside. That's why you bought the car. I'm just fucking with you.
But like the home thing too. Like when you said you never didn't think you'd be able to get a home, like I can agree with that. It's not because that's like how I was brought up. Like you get married at a young age, you have kids, you go to college, you own a home, you get a 401k. Like that's what's beaten into me. But like that's just a dream of mine. So is there a difference between a dream, like because my dream could be almost similar to what I was brought up, right?
So, I mean, here's the thing. It's like I'm not trying to deny people their process. And I feel like in ways sometimes I want to do that because here I am with 22 years, you know, and I bought a home. I don't, you know, my ex-wife owns the home now. I don't. I rent a house now.
It was a nice house.
Shout out ex-wife.
Yeah. It was a nice house. But I did everything I was supposed to do, cookie cutter, trying to create what I thought was happiness. And when I finally got it all, I still suffered from not truly being able to be myself. And I made decisions based on what I thought was going to make me happy and not listening, not getting to know myself to understand what truly makes me happy. So, you know, I made decisions based on marrying people and acquiring things. And like, I can just tell you today that like I have a lot of stress and anxiety today based on decisions I made that I thought were going to make me better, and they actually raised my stress levels. They didn't.
But let me ask you a question though. Could you have gotten to this place though?
Probably
I think
not.
Yeah, you know what he's gonna ask, right?
I do. Probably not. But probably not. But at the same note, and so there's this guy that I know who's got like 50 years clean. His name's Tom Catton. He wrote this book
The Mindful
called
Addict.
The Mindful Addict. He wrote another book called May I Sit With You. He says the guys that he likes to sponsor the most are the guys that have already found love and have already achieved financial success, because those are the guys that are most likely to be willing to do the inward work, because we're just in pursuit of that. Like, we're all just programmed that these are the things we need in order to make us happy. I'm at the same note, it's easier to not pursue things when you already have them. Obviously, it's easier to devalue something when you've already gotten it. So, so I get that, and I'm not trying to devalue that. I'm just saying that I do believe that the quicker that you can come to the self-actualization of listening to yourself instead of listening to belief systems that have been programmed into you. That's really where I'm coming from, and that I just want to drive into people. Do the work to listen to yourself.
And I completely get that, and I agree with you. I just know that pain is the biggest motivator for any of us, and and there's a reason why in our step work it says we've become entirely ready to have these defects of character removed. And how do we become entirely ready for anything? Through the exhaustion of the same actions over and over and over again, right? So I watched your process to get to it. You've watched my process.
Yeah.
So we didn't we didn't take the fucking we didn't take the shortcut. That's for damn sure.
No.
But I know what you're saying, because because you've already learned the lesson. I've already learned the lesson. And so we have the blueprint and the roadmap, and it's like you're trying to tell people this, you just go here and go right. And everybody's like, I'm going left and I'm going up that hill and I'm going to jump off that cliff. And it's like, but that also, we have to allow people to be where they're at. But I value the information. So, because there will be someone that will take the information and run with it early, because I wish that I could go back and talk to myself, even just 4 years ago, 5 years ago, just so much stuff I would have, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And the only way you do know, and for me, the only way I know exactly what to do most of the time is by doing what not to do first, right? By and repetitively trying to convince myself that this thing is going to change, and circle back to like fear, right? A lot of this is stemmed in fear. Like fear, a lot of my actions that I made that with what we're talking about was like, I had a lot of fear of perception, right? I didn't want to be. There's just a lot, but it was primarily fear induced with all those decisions, and now my fear of missing out, fear of like not looking a certain way, fear of not making, but now all that's whatever, and I'm at a new place where I'm content with me, and I'm in a process that I know that I'm in an evolution. Like, I'm nowhere near where I will be, but I know that I'm working towards being better. Now my fear comes from losing what's already in existence, right? What I have now. And so anytime something ever rattles that cage, it's like, that's where, and that's really the only place that like my disease on my head can trigger in, right? Because I have amazing friends, and I have this amazing network of people, and I have this amazing blessed life that I get to do what I love to do with the people that I love the most. And I get to, and so anytime something threatens that, that's where fear can creep in.
Yeah.
Fear of like the last petty fear that I had was this podcast. This was the final thing that I walked through. And then since I've been on the podcast, I talked about all the things that I was fearful of happening while I was on this podcast. Like I attacked it immediately. And the second I attacked it, it just went away. And it's not in existence for me no more. So now the secondary part is like getting to that place of faith, right? Because faith and fear can't live together. We live within one, right? And so we work towards, when we're in the place of fear, to get to the place of faith. So how do we get to that place of faith, right? How do we get to that place where you're living in within now? Or even when you start to feel yourself stray away.
I was ready for this. Keep going. You want me to go?
Go, yeah.
Mine was finding purpose, because once I found purpose, my life was a little bit more manageable. It was like serene, but then I wasn't able to, like, because fear dictated everything I did my whole entire life. Still to this day, comes up all the time. Fear of missing out, like you said, with the scooter gang. Fear of being judged all the time.
Cool.
My character defects, interior and exterior. But once I found purpose, it like made me feel a little bit more comfortable with myself and gave me happiness. And then, like you said, anytime I've manifested like a fear, nothing gets solved or it just gets delayed, but it takes action. So there's always a guy around me, whether it's you guys, whether it's anyone else I surround myself with, that's been through the fear. And it's just about me expressing it and getting it out, right?
So I would go back to one of the things that Napoleon Hill teaches, actually, is having like a definitiveness of purpose. What is your definitiveness of purpose? Because if you can define that for yourself, then you're not going to be chasing your tail, which is one thing I did. I chased my tail trying to find the things. If I get this, if I get that, and for me, the way that I grew up with less than, and I grew up with a lot of fear, because I grew up in just darkness due to my mom's addiction and foster care, and my whole story created fear-based thinking in me. So as a result of that, I wanted to feel safe. And so I wanted to be in control. And so then all belief systems that were taught out there were, these are the things that will make you okay. So I bought into those things in my mind, and I pursued them with, reckless disregard. Like if I do this, if I get this, if I do this, if I get that. And I started to check things off and came to realize, okay, it's not this. Okay, it's not that. Okay, it's not this. Okay, it's not that. And I found myself, here I am with all these years clean. One of the things I love about you, Chris, actually, is that you have an innate ability to just love people, which is a gift. And you should, continue to nurture that. It's a gift of yours. That's a compliment.
I know. I was looking at Chris like, I'm waiting.
No, you do.
Thank you.
So... And it's a beautiful gift that you have that you're able to express. It's something that I've struggled with most of my life, is just innately being able to freely be myself and love people, or innately just freely be able to be myself and be on a podcast and not worry about what people think about me.
It's about being comfortable, like you said.
Well, it's about being comfortable. But for me, I never set the goal in my mind early in recovery that I just want to freely be able to be myself. The concept, literally, it took years and years and years for that concept to just take shape of like, oh man, that's what you're really after here. You're really just after some contentment within yourself. And if you can create that as your definitive of purpose, and then the things that you pursue feed that goal, then you're going to be a little more centered, instead of just like running around with a chicken with his tail cut off trying to figure out what is it. Because, that actually is, for me, that from what I've learned so far in this journey, that actually is the aim of what I'm here on earth to do, is freely be able to be myself and shine my light. And by me being able to shine my light, I give people the freedom to be able to shine theirs. Yep. When I act out of ego with walls of, look at me with my nice car, look at me with my business, look at me with this, look at me with that, then I'm in a comparison hierarchy with people that teaches them they have to do the same thing.
But here's the thing, though. It's not only a matter of being able to shine your light. It's the saying, like when someone says, so you can dance, but can you dance in the rain, right? And pretty much the premise of that is, can you shine your light in spite of? And that's the true goal, right? Because we want to be loving and we want to be all these best versions of ourselves, but then you find yourself, I think, to truly be free is to not allow someone else to get you to act outside of who you are, or who you want or aspire to be, which is very easy for any of us to drop ourselves down to a level of, because someone may not be where we're currently at, you can bring yourself back down to a place that you once were and start to act from.
Can I expound on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Because one thing that I've learned about what you're talking about exactly is, so now my goal is to heal myself. I'm like working on a journey of healing myself. And so when someone triggers a wound in me. If I have understanding, if I've healed the wound, then I can understand that they're acting within their wound. But when their wound triggers my wound and I instantly make what they're doing about me, it's because I have a wound that I need to heal. And so I've actually come to learn that, like, the reason that I lower myself is not because it's because I have a wound that they're touching. And so they're expressing a wound, but it triggers a wound in me. So then I act defensively as a result of that. I have to go on defense now and put up my walls and put up my defense mechanisms of, like, when the truth is, if I start to heal myself, I can have understanding of their wound, because then I can see, oh, they're acting that way but it's a process, because even today, I have people that do certain things and it'll trigger something in me. It's not an act of will. It's an act of being. And so you'll start to get to know yourself better when you gain awareness. Oh, when they do this and I react like this, it's because of what's truly going on. I have a belief system in myself that I'm not okay. And so when I feel like they're attacking me, so I have to put up my defense mechanism. When they might be attacking me because they have a wound. It's their own wall that they're putting up, because it's just so interesting. We live in a society that is not like, it's not like where we are one. I mean,
it's very combative and stuff like
competitive.
that. And competitive, and we can be combative and competitive. It's human nature we're wired to just go to that place, tit for tat, eye for an eye, all that shit. But to truly be in a place of, like, freedom is it doesn't always have to be like, if someone is not in a good place and coming at you, or if someone is acting, to continue to be a loving individual and to continue to be, I know we talked about an individual not too long ago, I won't bring up, and like we had, like, this individual, something happened to him and it was on the internet and everybody was attacking him. And my first instinct was in a place of, I wanted to reach out. Although that person might have done something terrible, although I didn't agree with the terrible thing that he did, I saw the human being and just the pain that the human being could potentially be in. And I know, and my wife always talks about this. You'll forgive everybody. You got empathy with like all that shit. But my mother beat in my head from a young age. And you can ask my brother. She always would say, "There before the grace of God go I." And like, anytime, even when I was little, if I would be like, "Oh, look at that homeless," or "Look at that," she ingrained in me that, and she instilled that empathy in me. And then I grew up always living with foster children, and I grew up always understanding the stories of why these kids were living with us and the circumstances from what they come from. And and when they would act out, or when they would be like crazy in the house, or like, I mean, there was some insane shit that happened in my house, and my mother would sit me down and she would talk to me about, like, it's not their fault. And she would explain this stuff to me and, like, let me know, like, why they were acting out. So she instilled an understanding in me from a very young age that the actions don't necessarily create who the person is. There's something underneath the actions that are occurring. So
it's like a wounded, beaten dog. If you have a wounded, beaten dog, it will attack you, but it's attacking you because it's scared, because it's been beaten and wounded. We are the exact same way as human beings, and so we act out because we're scared. And so we're scared, and our defense mechanism is attack others. Like I was the foster kid that blew up and attacked. You know what I mean? And you know, one of the reasons I use drugs and alcohol is because it relieved that for me. It gave me some relief from how I thought about myself, I mean, my whole recovery journey has been recovering from belief systems about myself that were incorrect. And that's why people can be some of the best, because it's so interesting, because, you know, we work with clients all the time, you know, and I just see these amazing people. That's what I see. I just see these amazing people. They do not see that in themselves. Yeah. That is not what they see. They have these belief systems about themselves that they're not enough, and you know, all these things that even the most put together people will come with the same feelings about themselves. And it's one of the core reasons that they're using drugs and alcohol. And what can help them is just a different perspective from someone else, because I don't see that in them. I just see these amazing, loving, caring people. It's like we did this exercise recently with the clients where I gave them all nicknames based on like how I saw them as these great, like, you know, people. And so an example would be like the empath. You know, we had a client, she's very empathic, which is a gift. Yeah. It's a gift. But most people don't, you know, society doesn't value empathy all the time as something, you know what I mean? If anything, might be considered weak if you cry too much or you experience your feelings too much. But here we are. You were talking about your mom teaching you empathy, which is a beautiful, you know, principle.
She showed me. So
showed you.
This is how, not only did she teach me, but so my mother was what they called a specialized home. So she would take in like traumatic foster kids. So they would usually send them to my mother. So she was, the worst of the worst would go to my mother. And I'd watch these same kids that would act out and be aggressive and flip out. And I watched my mother be patient and not react to them acting out, and to just love them and treat them like, just treat them like, I mean, you can ask my brother. I have more sisters and like that I literally, they're my sisters. And my mother treated them as if they were me or they were Nico or like, and you could see the power of just love fucking morph. I seen it from a young age. I was a child. I watched it. I never didn't live with that my whole life. And I watched what the power of just loving someone where they're at, not forcing them to be anywhere other than where they were at, and just being there with them and not going anywhere. Because you see a lot of, even with that, with clients, right? Yeah. When early on, what they're trying to do is sabotage. Mm-hmm. What they're trying to do is act out and sabotage. And they want to be thrown out. And that's why we butt heads a lot with clinical, because they'll say, which rightfully so, but we always have a deeper understanding. He doesn't even want to be here. How many times have we heard that? Or she doesn't even want to be here. Yep. Yep. They're not engaged. They're acting out. No, they do want to be here. But underneath that, they're fucking terrified. They're scared. What's going on? The same thing that was going on with me when I was terrified. Here I am again, and my mind goes, well, I'm going to fuck this up again, or I'm not going to be able to make it, or this isn't for me, or I'm going to let everybody down again.
And what does society teach you to do with these people? Discipline them. What happens to you in school? Discipline them. Get them out of the school. What happens to them with, dude, there's foster parents. I mean, I love my parents, but discipline was a big thing. And I was a wounded kid in pain, and so I would act out, and then I'd have consequences, which would just reinforce to me that, you know, and my parents are amazing people, but they were taught that control. You know what I mean? We gotta fix this. We gotta control this, which is the opposite of love.
Yeah.
Control's the opposite of love. And so when you talk about clinical, or like in general, our society is taught to control those people, control their actions. Don't do that. You can't do that, when really the solution is the opposite. The solution is just unconditional love.
I always say, though, like, especially when we have specific clients come in and they're like, he's flipping, he's this, he's that, he's super irritable, or he's...
Or with the behaviorals that come to us.
Those are my favorite clients.
I love them. Yeah.
Why? Because they're at least showing me what we have to work with. Yeah. It's the quiet ones. It's the ones that say nothing that scare me. Yeah. Because you're getting, if they just sit in group and they're engaged, but they don't. The one that's just making them, I can see the insecurities in that. Yeah. I can see, even in a newcomer with most people, or even just people in general, when they're over, and I can tell where that's coming from personal experience, right? And so I'm always drawn, most of the time, to people that are like that in general, and that stems from a young age, seeing it.
Well, your mom's an amazing person.
Yeah,
shout out to your mom.
Yeah, shout out Chris's mom. You said it right there. Like, she introduced you to like one, her patience, but like the power of someone else loving you until you can love yourself. because that's when it started to change. Because that saying, like in the rooms, halls, whatever you go to, like, we'll love you until you learn to love yourself. The second I started loving myself on my own, one, I could do it to other people, but like I started believing in myself, because I came in, like when I was getting high, I felt like I wasn't worth shit, you know, the dirt on the bottom of my shoes. And it took a while, and I lived in fear, especially when I first got clean. Still to this day, fear of messing up, fear of letting people down. And I had to break away from the mold that, you know, society puts on us, right? I had to make everyone happy. I got to, you know, I was in such fear of just, you know, not doing what I thought my parents wanted me to do, that by the time I loved myself, the fog lifted. I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. They're like, we just wanted you to be fucking happy. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, a piece of it's about safety, people feeling safe to be able to be themselves. And I would challenge that even in recovery meetings, we don't always do like, it's written into traditions that it's supposed to be a loving, caring environment. But then put 100 people in a room who are addicts, and you got a bunch of masks up. You know what I mean? You got a bunch of, it's like easy for that principle to, you know, it not to be a safe environment for people to just be themselves. You know,
you got to find your people.
Well, you got to find your people.
You have to find your people.
You have to find your people, or, you know, or you got to find a meeting that you feel safe at, that you connect with people, because some people haven't, you know, some people haven't found the people yet, and so they need to go to meetings where, because it only takes one person in a meeting to share rawly and honestly about what's going on with them for all of a sudden the whole meeting to turn into that, you know. But it's easy to hear the opposite also, to go to a meeting and just hear people spouting knowledge about what they know, and then it becomes a comparative thing about what you know and not who you are, because at the end of the day, who we are, we're all the same. What we know is a comparative thing. Oh, this guy knows more than me, which doesn't create a safe environment for someone else to share who they are, because they don't know as much. You know, which is like not the point. It's the point is because, like you just said, you said earlier, you can't give yourself the knowledge. So even though you have the knowledge, you can't give it to yourself. It doesn't even matter. You still need someone else to like bring it up in you. Or I still need to like I need to feed myself this information on a daily basis, literally. So today I don't go to meetings 7 days a week like I did when I was early in recovery, because a meeting is a format that you can feed yourself positive information. But I'm like listening to videos on a regular basis. I'm reading books. I'm listening to YouTubes. Subscribe to Somebuddies Podcast.
Oh yeah, time out. If you're watching this, please help us out. Like and subscribe. I mean, everybody that has to subscribe, they're like, you got to sign in with an email.
It's 2020. How don't you have a fucking email?
Oh, man. Craig.
Dude.
Craig.
So, but, you know, digest positive content, and it will literally help you to change the way that you think and to think more positively. And so for me today, positive action has become a part of my norm to live in faith. But if I don't do those things, the second that I stop meditating, I mean, this last week, actually, there was 2 days that I didn't meditate, and
Probably
I felt it.
off.
I felt it instantly. I started to feel it, and me trying to figure everything out started to, you know what I mean? I got to figure out life. I got to figure out what exactly is going to go with the send. I don't want to take too much investment money, because then they own me. I got to, so it's like, dude, I literally was just in my head trying to predict the next year of my life. And as a result, I was living in fear. When I get back to my purpose is to help people. Like fundamentally, I created Ascend with the goal to help people connect. It's going to be a platform that's, you know, I mean, check it out yourself, but I don't want to get too much into it. But
download it.
That's the goal of the platform. I have spent every penny I've ever made in my life. I literally pulled every penny I've ever made in my retirement, and I pulled it out now when the market was terrible and my stuff was way down. I felt so free when I pulled that money out. Literally, I felt so free because I literally was just living in faith. You know what? I have a gut feeling that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to pursue it with vigor. How about that word?
I like it.
Yeah,
Vigor.
It's a
You
good
know?
word.
And I had never felt so much freedom when I did that, but it's because I took action. I faced my fears, because my fear was, don't take the money. You know what I mean? You need safety. You need this. You need that. And you know, I could be talking on this podcast like a year from now. Terrible decision.
I'll be giving you a ride in my Q50.
Well, I did something similar about a week ago. I I went and bought 6 scooters with Andy.
What I
Shout
call you
out
the-
Andy. And I felt so free too, because you can't just buy 1 scooter.
For the whole squad.
Even 2, because 2 was like, it's just you and one other person. You got to buy 6. And we already had 2. Now we have 8. Now we're on a fleet. Now we have a fucking Mighty Duck flying V formation driving through the streets.
So how much did you pay for these scooters?
I felt free. I'll tell you that.
Chalk it up.
I felt.
Because I'll give you half for one of them.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it. But and part. I mean. That's like the thing, like as fearful as that, because financially it's like we get scared, and then what do? I go out and buy scooters. That's my combative. That's like my active faith. The last time I was scared about finances, I bought 2 dogs,
Yeah.
$5,000 English bulldogs.
You were going
Yeah.
through it though.
But even before that, the last time I felt scared financially, I bought 1 English bulldog.
But the principle of living in abundance is you don't live in lack. So if you're spending,
We make that joke to each other all the time.
I mean, it's like but it's worked for me since since I've been clean. I have never gone without. I hate to say that, and I'm not, and I've been very fortunate. Thank you, God, and everybody that's helped me along my way, because it's not me. It has nothing to do with me. But me being in the flow and the energy of abundance creates abundance.
Yeah.
When you don't give, it's like the concept, like I've had to challenge myself in certain manners, because it's like you drive by somebody. I pick and choose what I give money to sometimes, but I try to give all the time. But it's like you're walking by a kid who is raising money. I especially like to donate money to kids and anything to do with kids and kids sports and all this stuff. But you're walking by them and you have $100 in your pocket. You only have 20s. So a piece of you says, I can't give, but you have thousands of dollars in the bank. You can easily give 20. You could give all $100 and be completely fine. But society's told you got to give $1. You can only give $1. So I've challenged myself over the years. I mean, I would say an act of abundance is tip wherever you go. Always give money wherever you go.
Yeah.
And because you're living in abundance, you're not living in lack. Because if you don't give the money, it's because you don't have enough. I don't have enough, so I need to keep it. And I literally live by this, and it's done me pretty well up to this point. But like, if you have $100 in your pocket, I'm telling you, if you give 100 instead of 1, the energy of money coming back to you increases twofold. It does. I deeply believe in this.
Well, then there's the flip side. Like if someone has $100 and they don't make a lot of money, they probably shouldn't give the $100, right?
I mean, I guess it's up to them. I mean, but could you give 20 and still have 80 and be fine?
Yes.
You know? I mean, I'm not saying give everything you have, because I'm not there. I'm not giving everything I have. And I could give more. It's just something fundamentally I challenge myself on because it's worked for me.
And I'm just playing devil's advocate because I am the guy that I
overtip so much.
I'm the guy that if you ask me to donate, if I'm walking by, I have this thing inside of me. I can't say no. I can't even say no to the machine. You know, when you're swiping a card and it says, would you like to donate 1, 5, 10 to...
Yep.
I have to say yes. No
or
matter
the Shell
what.
station when they do the stars and they write your name on it. I'm like, I'll take
always
15.
I feel like that's like my I always have to be in a state where I'm thankful for, and that's like my way of saying thankful. If someone asks, and I've been like that forever, and I believe in living in abundance. Even when I didn't have, it's not like I have a lot of money now. I'm talking about there was times when I was broke, and I just didn't worry about. We would laugh about it, me and my brothers, all the time when we were living off of dancer money, because dancer money only comes for a certain amount of months, and then you have to grind. There was times when we were dancing at bar mitzvahs, like literally, like I'd go to bar mitzvahs and be a hype up dancer. There's one time I had to dress up like in a velvet print suit and toot a horn and fucking all types of crazy shit. But even back then, like if I wanted to do something or go somewhere or whatever, I just lived in that abundant. Like I wasn't going to live in that fear place where I didn't allow myself to live because I was so afraid of what was going to come. And that is that I think that's essentially what trying to get to, right? With when we step out of the fear, it gives us the ability to live more in the now.
Yeah.
And when you're living in the now, you're in that realization that you're already all right, in spite of whatever the circumstances. I mean, and then my mind goes to, there's people that'll counter argue that what they're struggling right now, or they are in financial hardship, or they are going through stuff like that. But then in that sense, I go back to, like, you have to be in an action place, right? We can't allow this stuff to cripple us to the point where we're inactive in our pursuit, and we're inactive in. And part of action is also asking for help. There's a lot of people that live in a state of pride where they're unwilling to ask for help. Yep. And I'll be the first to tell anybody that wants to fucking ask. Like, I've asked for help. Every like, I wouldn't be in this spot right now. First business I ever started was the dancing school, and shout out to Ricky, who helped me with the dancing school and opened that up with me. And then the second one, Rise Above, you helped me, and we did it together. And then Process, Nick helped us. Yep. There's never been like, oh, this is, I did this. Yep. Thank you, Nick. And thank you, Justin, for fucking.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I needed you. It wasn't,
Yeah, so, but people get so, their ego or pride, or that just to be fearful to reach out and ask for help.
That mentality, I can figure it out on my own.
I got this. Yeah. You know what I mean? My brother's like that. He almost didn't buy a house instead of asking for help. He got all the way down to the fucking wire of buying his house, and then the mortgage was going to be, well, the down payment, what they initially told them, what it was going to be was more, and they were literally clearing out what they had. And instead of reaching out and asking for help, he's that epitome of that guy. He would rather not buy the house than...
Dude.
Then ask for help.
Then ask for help.
But we're taught that. We're taught to be self-sufficient. We're taught don't ask for help. I mean, we're not, which it's a beautiful thing when you embrace it in recovery, that, like, it's fundamental. It's taught in us that we have to ask for help. But again, it goes against our belief system, goes against our nature. It's not taught to do that. But in asking for help, it's interesting because a quote I heard a long time ago was, asking for help or giving help are the same thing. You're in the same vibration. Either way, you're with God. You know what I mean? Either way, you're with God. And so a lot of people love to give help, but then they don't want to ask for help. And so you're not really truly in the flow at that point, because all of us, I don't care who you are, I don't care how well you're doing in life, you're still here to learn. We still need to ask for help. We still need to be open to what this. It's back to the fear of understanding. It's like, we're here to understand, and in order to understand, we need to be asking for help.
Every time I've ever asked for help, right, it takes a while, but when I finally do, I get the information I need, someone to help walk me through it or whatever, but then I get motivated. Like recently, right, I reached out to J-Mac, shout out J-Mac, and I was like, dude, he's coming out here in the first.
What?
And I'm like, what? And I was like, dude, man, like, I'm fine. It's quarantine. I'm gaining weight. I'm looking like shit. So every morning he messaged me. He's like, push-ups. And it just gets me going. Because, like, you know what? Like, I kind of know what I'm doing in the gym. I really don't. I act like I do. I'd rather hurt myself. But it's like, I took the first step. About talking about finances. We talked in the past about, like, I don't know if I'll be able to get a house. Like, this is the credit score you need. This is how much you should save. And I have goals, and I'm achieving it.
Jay's taking your spot, just to let you know.
Yeah, I already got that feeling. It's okay. It's going to be my last episode. But
we'll do a tribute for you and all that stuff.
We will. It's been nice to have you and stuff. The porn stash was a nice play.
We'll put all the highlights. We'll put everything you ever said in a 1-minute clip.
It wouldn't even take a minute. It would take like 45 seconds.
I got to pee. So we're coming to the end of this episode. So we talked a lot about fear, getting to a place of faith, man. And obviously we could talk about fear for a long time. It's the root of majority of all our barriers to entry and living the life that we truly want to live. It's the barrier in between that person right now that is working a job that they don't want to work, but they're stuck in the confines of comfortability, right? Because comfortability doesn't come with fear. So they're willing to sacrifice what it is that they truly want because of their unwillingness to experience what comes with stepping out of the comfort zone, which is everything that we're talking about, right? Combating of fear and having to take the necessary actions to get yourself from that mindset into a faith mindset, and to work yourself into an abundance mindset, or even like a belief, right? Belief in, like, you believe in ascend as if the thing has already been has 1 million subscribers, and you have to have that mindset, right? Because if you're gonna take a step out and if you're gonna take a risk, you have to believe wholeheartedly, and you have to understand that. And even we were just talking with my brother about him taking the steps with Rich Print Shop, and like trying to print, and he thought it was going to be very easy in the beginning, like, oh, I just buy this machine, I print some shirts and all this stuff, and realizing that there always comes these pitfalls that you hit, the learning curves, right? Yep. But the biggest thing that you have to understand with anything in life is that we can't stop, right? They're just necessary lessons that we need to learn in order to get us to the next step closer. It's like with the fear thing. The fear is a lack of understanding, and the more that we understand, the less that we have to fear, right?
And if you knew the path to get there, you might not take it.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you understood, it's going to take 5 years and this, that, and the other thing, maybe you would. You know what I mean? But such is life. You can never figure it out. You just believe in where you're going. You believe in the destination. You believe, because everybody has it in them. Yeah. But you know, we've tapped a lot of points of you have it in you, but you need to what's the word? Foster.
You do, and you need to continue to foster it. Forward movement. It's like you watch the people that walk on the stones, the fire stones. Yeah. Right? They can walk forward and get through it without getting burned. The only time they get burned is when
they stop.
When they fucking stop, yeah. Right? It's when they stop. All of a sudden they're starting to second guess, like, oh, I can't do it. Yeah, now your feet are on fire. Because it's the forward progress that matters. It's if you just look forward and don't acknowledge that the fucking stones are under your feet, and you just continue walking. And that is with anything in life, right? The stones are going to be under our feet. It's only when we stop and sit still that it starts to burn. Mm-hmm. And I just came up with that on the spot, that right was fire. There.
It was fire.
Was I just came up with that on the fucking off the top of the dome. I'm like writing a poem. When in Rome. I'm
not going there.
5 subscribers lost.
5 subscribers. 3 dislikes, dude. Bro, I got bars for days. When J-Mac's on here, that's a side note. We used to drive around and freestyle in early recovery. we had a rap group called SFK, Seafoam Killers. Shout out to Bojo.
Yeah. You guys were talented.
We were the best.
Yeah.
The best.
I'm being serious. I'm getting a little insecure sitting here thinking about J-Mac coming on, this handsome ass, and fucking.
He's beautiful.
You guys fucking rapping at each other. What am I gonna do, dude?
Dude,
I'm gonna sit here awkwardly.
What's that? We got awkward Justin and awkward.
J-Mac is nuts, dude. He sends me videos of him jumping in the water with like alligators and shit. I'm just like, dude, you're out of your mind. I would never do that.
Praise the man.
No,
I would never do that.
He's going to be an awesome addition to the
Can I read a
family.
quote?
Absolutely, you can read a quote.
Your mind is your instrument. Learn to be its master and not its slave.
Mm.
This is true.
So what it's saying is, when you're its slave, you're living in fear. When you're its master, to me, that's even going into don't live in your left brain, live in your right brain.
Chris, I'm looking up a quote, so say something to kill time.
Oh, man. Just fear. Fear. What did you say? Panic?
He's panic.
No, fear in general. It's been coming up a lot recently. Like, you guys touched upon it with you guys. And, like, one thing is, like, fear of being, like, the true version of me because fear of being judged. And, like, that's something I've really kind of learned to, like, focus on lately is just being who I am at that very moment, because at the end of the day, if someone judges me upon like who I am as a person, then like they're not made to be in my life. And something my sponsor told me, like you were talking about your mom, Chris, and Justin, what you were saying about like, helping people out with like money and stuff, but like, like donating, right? Giving back. My sponsor told me if you do the work, you're going to be able to see the world through God's eyes. And like I didn't understand that until maybe a year clean. I still don't fully understand that, but I know I can see people with compassion now, and it helps me look better, like more inside of myself of like who I am as a person. Am I being honest today? Am I being disloyal? You know, am I being the best version of me? And I'm never 100% on any of those. I'm never going to be 100%, but it boils down to like, am I working on myself? And you even said about like you praying or you meditating, right? You went a couple days, and I said, I'm like, you felt off, and you agreed.
Yeah,
it's true. I feel off. I'll start feeling off when like, and I could tell I'm start trying to take my will back when I'm just praying in the morning and praying at night. Sponsor once told me, he's like, how's your connection with your higher power? I'm like, it's great. He's like, how many times do you pray? I'm like, 2 times a day. He's like, that's a great relationship.
So can I challenge you a little bit on this though?
Please, I knew you would.
Because praying is just talking to God, but are you fucking listening?
Yeah.
It's like everybody prays, but you got to listen too. It's very, very important to listen because it can't just be a one-way relationship. So you will get answers, but you have to quiet yourself. And we did talk in other episodes, you don't just have to meditate. You can do other things. There's things that you can do to get into meditative states. People run, people draw, people read, people
ride scooters.
There's, you know, there's a lot of different things, but, you know, to tune in, you got to listen. So it's not always just about, you know, I'm a believer in the power of prayer. Yeah. But I think listening is just as important.
So I think we maybe wrap up with this quote, and you guys can, because I always go, whenever I'm in like a darker place, I always go back to, I have this posted on my Instagram. I always go back to read it, and it kind of helps set me in the right mindset, or begins the setting of the right mindset. But it says, may God give you a sense of what he is up to in your life. May you see glimpses of the breakthrough that is just up ahead. May you with all of your heart believe that trusting him over what your eyes see is totally and completely worth it. May you shift your weight off of your logical reasonings and onto the weightiness of his powerful promises to you. You have got help and resources that go far beyond anything you could ever need. Smile with joy and walk by faith today. He has got you.
Wow.
And I always go back to reading this, and it also reminds me of that biblical story that I brought up about the walking on water thing, where it's the "O ye of little faith, why do you look away?" Mm-hmm. And the whole
It's the sand quote.
Yep.
That's when God's carrying you.
Yeah, and it just reminds me to when my mind starts to wander off into that fear, and it's like how we began the podcast, and like when I was talking about when I got off the scooters and come to that realization, like I'm already all right. Mm-hmm. Everything in my life is already in existence. I got love from my wife, from my daughter, from my son, from my dogs, from my friends. I have beautiful friends, and when I get in tune with love, and when I get into that place financially and all the stuff that I worry about, it doesn't even fucking matter. It doesn't. And I'm similar to you in the set that I just want to not have to stress about it. It's not a matter of an amount. It's just a matter of like, I'm financially, my credit cards are paid off. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like just simplified and making steps. But as far as there's no like, I want a yacht. I really don't have or aspire to have all these. Like I want to just double down on what I already have in existence, and I want memories and experiences. Like that's the stuff that's like the most important to me. You're smiling. What are you smiling
I want to create a self-sustaining society. It's a goal of mine. I literally want to like build a whole community where like money is removed because we all share resources, and just all the people that I love. So I want to do it in northern New Hampshire.
Like a good cult.
Yeah, I was literally
subscribe.
It's like a good
you
cult.
Might be part of my cult.
Just subscribe if you want to be part of Justice's good cult, his love cult. He will not ask to sleep with it. Cause I just watched this. What was it? This cult on Netflix where the guy convinced everybody to like follow God, and he would sleep with their wives so that they would no longer have to do
Waco. The Waco one? Yeah, dude.
It won't be a Waco cult. It'll be a love cult.
A love cult.
A love cult with Justin.
No, but think about it. Think about this world if money wasn't. Think about even right now.
Dude, I'm in your cult.
Dude, think about right now, even what's going on in the world. It's like we're sending paychecks to all Americans so that everybody's okay.
Yeah.
Why can't we figure out? I hope before I die, we live in a world where mankind is focused on everybody just being okay and not removing money. I think that prosperity is part of our human nature and that we shouldn't take it away. But at the same note, can we share resources to the point where money is not a driving force for us, but a connecting resource for us to all connect and help and take care of each other? And you could say that the pandemic that's happened is the universe forcing that change. This is what I believe. I do believe this, and there's a whole nother episode on that, of spiritual teachings that I'm into, Age of Aquarius, and all these other things. But you know, I want that. That's why I want a self-sustaining society, because I want to live in, I just want to live in removing money and being able to help others remove money also from, you know, being a stressor for them. And I don't know if, you know, obviously it's a complicated goal, but
No, of course.
I've seen it, though. I've seen it in my mind. But in order for that to happen, Ascend U needs to become the next Facebook. So please download Ascend U. And
In a
help
week.
me in this.
He needs to make ours the money.
I need to make billions. I need to be.
In order for us to start his cult, well, money doesn't matter. He
Money
needs to make.
I need to make billions.
He needs to make billions.
But I'm
And
going
he's
to
gonna
share the
teach you
billions.
how to get rid of your money.
I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you some. So you just give me some. I'm going to give you some later. Because I love you.
That's
all right?
it.
I believe in
God
you.
loves you too.
I'm dead serious.
I believe you, man. I'm in, dude.
I want
I'm
in, too.
You can be the leader, dude. I just want a scooter. I just want a couple scoots, dude.
Yep.
I want my brothers and my sister.
Oh,
And
I
I
love
want
your
my
brothers.
family
I
there.
want them all there too. So.
Yeah,
It's a dope cult.
but that's it. This is we'll end on that. This is official the end of episode 8. Peace.